The seat taken?
Nobody's in the seat that I ain't taking, friend.
So this is the back?
It's the back.
What is up? What is good? Welcome back to Sabak the Block, your favorite Star Wars show, or at least I'm hoping it's your favorite. Either way, I am here back with Emma Fife. What is up, Emma?
Hello. I put my Christmas decorations up.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, so I've got a tree. I actually just went to Dollar Tree and got some more decor because I was feeling like my kitchen was a little under-decorated. It's maybe directly related to the fact that I saw another one of my friends' Instagram posts with all of her Christmas decorations, and I went, I need to step up my game.
Yeah, 'tis the season. You might as well. Even though we're in quarantine, guys, we still want to keep the spirit up. I love Christmas time, so I think it's great when people get into it. But either way, we are here to talk about Star Wars. There's a few things to talk about, but I feel like the main thing is mainly about The Mandalorian. So I kind of just want to jump into it, Emma, especially because it's you.
Freaking do it. Let's do
and there's a certain character.
I know. Okay.
Right. So let's just do it. RB3, if you have the sound bite, we can toss it to that.
I heard a story about you. I was wondering if it's true.
So The Mandalorian is back. The episode is called The Tragedy. We are very close to the finale.
I also love that the name of this episode referenced literally, from my perspective anyway, just the very, very ending of the episode. Like, come on, that's the tragedy, right? Is that Baby Yoda got abducted.
Yeah, or is it the Razor Crest?
or the death of the... Okay, you know what? Oh, yeah. That's true.
Which one is the tragedy? I love how we're an inanimate object, a vehicle, or an actual living.
Okay, but this is the thing: is that you get very attached to your ship.
Sure. This is definitely like if the Falcon blew up, but in a much smaller scale. But it's still important. It's a very important ship.
Yeah.
But either way. The big elephant in the room, or the big Mandalorian that's not a Mandalorian, but is kind of a Mandalorian in the room, is Boba Fett coming back, something that we knew was going to happen, considering that our first episode, Emma was talking about Boba Fett. And
how I didn't want Boba Fett to come back.
And then he came back in the first episode. And then we finally got to see Temuera Morrison actually play Boba Fett, speak, and actually be in action. Emma Fife. What are your thoughts on this episode, and what are your thoughts on the Boba of it all?
I loved this episode.
There you go. See?
I loved it. It was freaking great. I'm such a huge fan of Robert Rodriguez, who directed this episode. Mm-hmm. I thought this was a very Robert Rodriguez episode, and I mean that as a compliment. Just like really good use of the setting and the environment and the scenery. That's all very Rodriguez. And I am very happy to be wrong about Boba Fett. And I think that they did a fantastic job incorporating that character in a way wherein our boy, the Mandalorian, previously had his concept of what a Mandalorian is challenged by Bo-Katan. It is further challenged by Boba Fett, and we see him here start to make a breakthrough. And because of the way that they incorporated him and this sort of addressing of what it means to be a Mandalorian, how one becomes Mandalorian, is accepted into that culture, I thought was just handled so well. And I absolutely loved this episode, and I'm so excited to have a squad with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand in it.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many tweets I saw, Emma, on Star Wars Twitter from friends of mine or from other random people who were like, what am I supposed to do with my life now that I can't be a Boba Fett hater?
Yeah, I know.
Where you're like,
I was
all
never
the Boba Fett people who didn't like Boba Fett or didn't like Boba Fett fans.
I would just like to point out. I was never a Boba Fett hater. I've always been cool with Boba Fett as a character. Sure. I just was very firmly of the opinion that he ought not to return in this series. Like, just let him stay dead. Mostly from the point of view of, well, number one, we've seen a lot of dead characters come back.
Yes.
I mean, case in point, there were two in this episode. Boba Fett, though we actually already knew he was still alive, and Fennec Shand, though I kind of guessed she was alive as well. And number two, just from the perspective of, I don't need everything to tie super directly back into the original trilogy. That will always be the anchor of Star Wars. That'll always be what's like bringing people to Star Wars, is that original trilogy that everything was kind of built and expanded upon the backs of. However, I was very, very delighted with the way that this character was handled in his return. It is very nice to see Temuera Morrison get to play him, and I'm for this team up that's happening because, I don't want to say it's like an upgrade from the previous team up that the Mandalorian had, but it's like
it's a slight upgrade. It's definitely an upgrade. Or at least I'll say it is. I wouldn't say Boba Fett hater. I just think there's an allure around Boba Fett where there's a lot of fans who are like, he's one of the best Star Wars characters ever. And then there's like your side who's like, well, he doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
Which is very true. And I think a lot of Boba Fett fans kind of like really toss it in your face of how cool he is. But this episode kind of showed you how cool he is, which I just think is really funny because the vast majority of the episode is just action, which is kind of interesting and cool. I believe even Robert Rodriguez himself talked about how the script was super short and he had to add a lot of those action elements into it, which again, he's an expert in. The guy's been making films for so long, and he made a massive film last year with Alita Battle Angel. So the guy's an expert and clearly...
Which I love, by the way. Yeah. Alita was so fun.
Yeah, RB3 and I, that's why he's putting on the horns, because RB3 is agreeing with you.
Oh,
that's his agreement.
It's great. Oh my God, it's so good. If you've not seen Alita Battle Angel, highly recommend.
Yeah, RB3 is agreeing. We saw it together and we were like, oh yeah, we really enjoyed that.
It was super fun.
Yes, it was. And again, here's my thing. And I've done this before, and I'm going to do it again, guys. Sorry if I have to do it, but I tweeted this out, and Pedro Pascal actually retweeted me, which was pretty cool.
I was going to say, how long are we going to wait before we address the elephant in the room now? Come on.
Well, I'm going to skip over that. That was the only elephant. That was like a little, it's like a baby.
Pedro Pascal tweeted at you?
Retweeted me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's the highlight of my 2020. It's over. It's done.
I mean, listen,
that's all there is to it.
Mark Hamill used a GIF from my Star Wars RPG one time. It was not of me. It was of my GM for Jennings, but it still was from my show or our show.
That's pretty impressive. I don't think I could top that. But still, like what I tweeted and what he retweeted was the idea and the kind of historic moment of it all of a Latino director directing a Latino star inside a Star Wars show, which is something we've never had before. Literally the first time ever. Pedro Pascal, who is Latino, being the lead of a Star Wars show and having a Latino director behind the camera. Because cool. Robert Rodriguez has made it a point to highlight whether it be Mexican-American or Latino Americans or just Latinos in general and pretty much all his films. Like even Alita,
Rosa Salazar.
Rosa Salazar is incredible. She's so good.
Unbelievable.
Rosa Salazar, pretty much every single one of his films features a Latino talent.
Yeah.
And having him behind the camera was just a little bit extra special for me. So I had to bring that up.
Yeah.
But, let's move on a little bit to kind of that aspect of it, of the action. What'd you think of the endless action that was kind of thrown in your face, Emma?
I thought it was great. I thought it was integrated in such a way where it was exciting, following all the different parties who were involved in this fight. It never felt to me like it was just all action for the sake of doing action. Like it all felt like it was propelling the story forward. Obviously, a lot of the Mandalorian struggle was trying to stay with the baby to keep him safe and then realizing, no, actually, I got to get in on the fight. I super duper enjoyed it. I just think that Ming-Na Wen is one of the greatest, she's such an interesting action star, and it's just like, it's so interesting to watch her start in this particular role in Fennec Shand doing her whole sharpshooter thing and then adapting as people got closer to her. And it was fun. It was like a video game.
Yeah, it really was.
I loved it.
There's a lot of, maybe because I've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the amount of times and rewatched it. I am the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. guy where I know that show like the back of my hand. But Agent May she's very graceful in her action.
Yeah.
She's graceful but aggressive, where you believe that she's doing everything that she's doing. But at the same time, there's a different kind of personality and energy that she puts into it. I love Ming-Na Wen and I love the character of Agent May. And I'm probably going to love Fennec Shand the more I get to see of her. But yeah, I really did. You know what? I talked a little bit about it with Star Wars Explained, Alex Damon. I really liked Tamora Morrison with the gaffy stick kind of blowing off. I think that was my favorite even more than the blasters and the cool rocks and all that. I thought him with the gaffy stick, I thought the choreography, the visuals, the slow-mo, I thought it worked really, really well. That was my favorite part for sure.
Yeah, I also felt like one of the things I really appreciated about it is like you brought up the slow-mo and I feel like they didn't overuse the slow-mo because I think that gets overused a lot in fighting. It was basically like the Matrix did it and everyone went, oh my God, that's so cool. And then since 1999, everybody does it. But yeah, I thought it was incorporated in a way that added to the dramatic effect. As you say, it was mostly used in those Boba Fett battles with the staff, which I thought was really well done. And I felt for the character of Boba Fett a lot in a way I did not expect to. And I think a lot of that, like there was just a lot of emotion in his performance, even in those fight scenes.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that has to do with when I mentioned when we talked about Jango, so much credit to George for casting Temuera Morrison as Jango Fett and kind of retroactively doing that. I know a lot of people, I've talked to Star Wars purists, OG purists, I guess you could say, who are like anti like Boba and not anti Boba, but anti Jango and anti like Clone Trooper and changing him and all that. But I've always argued like, oh, I have argued with them. I really have. Like, it's a serious thing where they really don't like the remakes and how they changed the voices of Boba and changed this character to be Temuera Morrison.
I think though that was one of the things that was super that was a way Boba Fett. And I've said this on the show before. And I mean, people in chat have literally confirmed that they like ordered Boba Fett action figures off of the Star Wars Christmas special, which was the first thing that Boba Fett actually appeared in, though he was introduced at some like Midwestern parade. You cannot make this up. This is all real. Okay. But Boba Fett was made to sell action figures. And by introducing the idea of Jango Fett and Jango Fett being the person who provided the DNA for the clones and then basically had a clone made to be his son clone, Boba Fett, then like you integrated these characters into the story in a way that they previously had not been. Yes.
Absolutely. And it makes him a more compelling character, an actual character, and not just a background character who looks cool.
Right.
But I think what I was trying to get at was the idea of casting Temuera Morrison specifically to represent, and I've said this before, I told you this last time, the warrior mentality, the warrior spirit that Boba has, where he is the kind of guy who, if he goes off, he has that in his blood and his spirit and his veins, which is obviously what we see from Din since episode 1. And I think that's perfect casting since he is from that Maori
and
culture.
Also, the thing yes, 100%. That works so well for this character. And also, I think that they just did such a good job with this character who is, because Boba Fett shows up, he has basically stalked the Mandalorian because he wants his armor back. Plain and simple. And then he gets his armor back, and instead of just like piecing out, or like he's basically in a situation wherein he kind of has to, negotiate with the Mandalorian to try to get the armor back. And then like they basically come to this really great understanding where you see that, the Mandalorian's basically like, okay, I'll let you have your armor back. And Boba Fett goes, thank you. That's such a great honor. Basically, because Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, realizes, oh, wait, you are, like, in my eyes, worthy of this. And also maybe my definition of worthy has changed. And some of that is directly related to the character of Boba Fett. And then him in turn saying, well, I owe you a debt now, so I'm gonna help you get the baby back. It was just a really well-crafted episode. I really liked it.
It's great. And a lot of it makes a lot of sense. We'll get to the Mandalorian aspect. I want to go to a comment real quick. And obviously it's something that they pointed out. Nashi in the comment section right now says, I noticed in the last episode how many people of color and women are in the show. Pretty cool. Yeah, we had a Fennec Shand, Boba Fett, Din Djarin. That's really a cool, diverse, different squad, something that we don't see all the time in Star Wars, which I think is really refreshing, if I'm being honest. It's something that's very refreshing.
Absolutely. So. I am very curious to know which of Jon Favreau's friends were the stormtroopers in this episode. And also, I mean, again, it's a little weird because the Empire is very much started as sort of like a Nazi allegory. But even in your primary antagonistic role, you have a black man or a mixed Latinx in Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's Italian and African American, I believe.
Yeah.
But he's definitely yeah. It's something that's different. You have someone who has that. I just like the idea of having a villain be something different, and that's something that we usually always see, and that's definitely Moff Gideon. Let's briefly go to that before I move on, Emma. Let's go to the Mandalorian aspect when he shows him how he is also a part of the Mandalorian culture, or at least in a different way. What do you think of that? Because I know, I think it flowed really well because it didn't feel necessarily like a retroactive change. It felt very natural. It felt very good because that one guy in Clone Wars who says that line, I forget his name already. Was it
Prime Minister Olmec?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
it
so.
makes sense
Olmec,
that
maybe.
he would be the one to have this very like, this is the Mandalorian way because I said so. So it made sense to me when he showed him that message, that this kind of fits into the Star Wars universe pretty well, actually. What'd you think of that moment?
Yeah, well, because again, I mean, I have previously said I think that one of the things that I definitely really enjoyed about the episode with Bo-Katan was addressing this idea of, it's so funny because we're presented with like Duchess Satine's regime having a narrow definition of what constitutes a Mandalorian in some respects. More specifically in regards to them, their attitude towards somebody like a Jango Fett, or specifically Minister Almec's like attitude towards that. But meanwhile, you're introduced to this sort of culture of people who are already in conflict with one another, because you have your pacifists and you have your like, we want to follow the old warrior ways, but we all have this weird, like sort of narrow definition of what a Mandalorian is. And then the thing that's super interesting is that the Mandalorian in this series has an even more narrow definition of what a Mandalorian is, even though he was like found and accepted into this culture. His definition is even more limiting than like the people who were born on Mandalore. So it's so cool to see this character have his beliefs challenged and like learn to accept that there's more than one way to Mandalorian.
Yes. Yeah, I think it worked really well. And I think that's kind of a very good thematic through line for the character of Din, right? Because we see him evolve through each season, through each episode, frankly, as someone who, by episode 2, this is a guy who's like, my weapon is my religion.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way, kind of stuck in his way. And now he's starting to become a guy who's starting to see like maybe everything that I grew up with isn't necessarily the correct way, and maybe there is different ways. Which is kind of ironic because that's the line of the show. This is the way.
100%. And it is very much addressing that idea of, okay, yes, Jango Fett is not Mandalorian because he was not born on Mandalore, nor did he, as far as we know, really subscribe to any sort of Mandalorian creed. We just basically know him to be a bounty hunter who had Mandalorian armor, and who volunteered to be the DNA for all of the clones. But like, we are getting an opportunity here to re-examine this idea of, okay, sure, yeah, he perhaps obtained the armor through nefarious ways, but it doesn't matter, because if you like want to be part of that culture, you can be part of that culture, and you can like get into this whole idea of passing the armor down through your family. So just because, say, Bo-Katan, Clan Kryze has been that, like, they're born on Mandalore, have been Mandalorian for forever, ever. Armor has been passed down through the family for centuries. It doesn't make her any more Mandalorian than a foundling like a Din Djarin or a Jango Fett or a Boba Fett.
Yeah, to me that makes it makes sense. It fits. It fits inside the story. It fits inside the Star Wars universe. It fits inside canon. It also brings in a little bit of the Legends background. I know someone in the chat mentioned that, and that's a very good point. They've kind of made it a point to feature a little bit of Legends things, obviously, here and there from each episode, which Legends that work inside the universe.
Totally.
This isn't far-fetched. This isn't something crazy.
I mean,
or something that retroactively does something.
Yeah.
I think it just naturally fits in there. It's like a puzzle piece that was missing. It just goes in.
Things like bringing back the idea of the mythosaur, you know what I mean? Like that's a Legends thing, and now it's canon. Maybe canon, we don't know, because again, it was just like mentioned. Oh, your ancestors rode the mighty mythosaur, but do we really know that? That could just be a myth.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, to me, it worked really well, and I think it definitely was the highlight of the episode. But there was another thing in this episode that I want to get to, Emma. So let's go to the Green Psylop real quick to talk about Mr. Grogu doing his thing here.
It only had this little green Psylop.
So we had a mission to go to Tython, and the reason why we were going to Tython was because Grogu was supposed to send a message or attempt to contact, if he so pleased, a Jedi that possibly could reach out to him through the Force, and that's exactly what we saw, which I thought was really refreshing.
It was
take
super
5
nice.
episodes to get there.
It was super nice to just be like, okay, here we are on this planet, baby sit on this rock, and he did the thing.
He did the thing. He sent the satellite message, whatever that was, a Force message that we saw actual visual representation of. So to me, I think that was
he just launched the Find Friends app on himself.
He did, yeah, and it definitely is probably working. I doubt that wasn't something that's not going to come back. So I want to get to your thoughts real quick on. Let's start with the visuals of it. What do you think of the blue shield thing that went up in the air? That's one, and then I want to give you a follow up to obviously our last episode, which is who is the Jedi?
Yes,
that you think is on the way.
One, very effective for creating dramatic tension. Always, I mean, this is an overused trope, but it works well. This person with some sort of psychic-y ability needs time to do this task.
Yes. And what'd you think of the blue shield that he couldn't get past?
Emma. Listen, you gotta tap into the Force, my man.
Yep.
And you, Mandalorian Din Djarin, are not one with the Force, and the Force is not with you.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because earlier in the episode, it opened up with Din laughing because he got Grogu to respond to his name every time. He's like, Grogu. And Grogu was like, huh? What?
Oh my God. Every time he responded to the name Grogu, I died of happiness. It was so freaking cute.
And Din was like, oh, this is great.
I know.
I don't have to call him kid anymore, even though I probably will. But yeah, I thought that moment was pretty funny. But there was a line where he said, I have to find a Jedi, man, because I can't teach you. I don't know anything about this stuff, which kind of shows to me like maybe that's teasing potentially Din having or being forced to or being burdened with training Grogu in future seasons to come.
Could be.
But either way, when I saw a ship approaching, my first thought was, oh, this Jedi's quick. Like whoever it is, but obviously it was
that's hilarious. You thought it was like just instant, like
well, when you heard a ship, I was like, damn, this Jedi's quick. And then the Slave One came up and I was like, oh my God, the Slave One. That's like one of the most famous Star Wars ships.
Oh, dude, when I saw that ship, I knew immediately. I was like, oh shit, it's Boba Fett.
Yeah, I freaked out too. I was like, oh my God. But then when you saw the lander, I don't know what else to call it, the troop lander arrive, I was like, are we gonna get like the Jedi just pop out there and just like what if all the rumors that everyone's tweeted at me,
they set up the fact that the Razor Crest had a tracking beacon in it in a previous episode. So
but I was thinking to myself, I was like, what if everyone who was like, dude, I'm telling you, it's Mace Windu. And like, what if Mace Windu comes out and like cuts Boba's head off?
Amazing.
It would just be like, oh, I remember you. How'd you come back? I'm gonna take your head off. And I was like, this would be like the most darkly humorous moment in all of Star Wars if Mace just shows up and Boba does the little. I'll give credit to Alex Damon. The Kill Bill music pops up and Boba's face, just his eyes just bulge out. He's like, not this guy again. I thought that would have been hysterical if it was
Yeah.
Mace showing up, but obviously that wasn't the case. We saw the stormtroopers instead.
Yes.
Are you still with me on the Ezra thing, Emma?
I'm still 1,000% on the
Okay.
Ezra train. And I think that he will not show up super soon, but soon-ish.
That was my follow-up. So here's my thing. Grogu was captured.
Yes.
Will we see this season, it could be season finale, a Jedi show up to help rescue Grogu?
Yes, I think that is what. Well, I think yes, but
Okay.
he's gonna show up, but late. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like the last shot of the final episode of this season is gonna be Ezra showing up.
Yeah, that's my thing too, is like, we know we're getting a rescue mission for the finale.
Yeah.
Considering we have a squad now with Fennec Shand and with Boba Fett. My only thing is like, are we going to get the Jedi coming to respond and to find Grogu and helping him out? Or are we going to just get maybe a Bo-Katan showing up to help him out as well? Maybe all of them at once showing up to help them out, considering the Dark Troopers look pretty formidable.
Yo, the Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
I was very glad when Moff Gideon was like, we need to send the Dark Troopers. I was like, I knew they were Dark Troopers. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It definitely was a direct comment towards anyone who was like, is it a Dark Trooper? And they're like, it's a Dark Trooper.
Yeah, I liked that too. This episode to me was just very cut and dry, and it was very refreshing, where they were basically like, yep, this is Boba Fett. Boba Fett wants his armor back. Yep. Fennec Shand lived, and she lived with the help of some mechanics in her stomach. Also, we kidnapped the baby with the Dark Troopers. Yes, these are Dark Troopers. Yup, we're going to also contact Dr. Pershing. That's right. Dr. Pershing is cloning things. Like, it was very, very straightforward.
It's very straightforward. Yeah, they definitely didn't leave anything for the imagination there, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I liked it too.
But I want to bring up another question, Emma. I don't know why, but literally the first second that the Razor Crest just pops and just explodes, the first thing that popped in my head, and maybe I'm reaching, but I was like, wait a minute, Jon Favreau wanted a Boba Fett show forever. He loves Boba Fett. He brought him back for a reason. What if this whole thing is a passing of the mantle towards Din? And what if Din gets the Slave One, and he is the one who like takes over, you know, this whole like Slave One, Boba Fett. It's like the Django in Boba all over again, where Grogu's in the driver's seat. He's like, oh yeah. What if he takes the Slave One? I don't know why. I was like, that'd be so interesting. I mean,
it's a dope ship,
right? It's just like the coolest ship ever in all of Star Wars. So that's why for me, I'm just like, I want to see this ship every episode for every season, and maybe that's just me being selfish, but I don't know what you think of that theory.
I mean, he doesn't have a ship right now,
right?
So yeah. I mean, I think there is a very and a shout out to Darth Mr. Meeseeks in chat for bringing up the idea of them building up to kill off Boba Fett.
That's exactly what I thought. Yes, but
I do think that is very possible, that we are going to build up to Boba Fett getting killed, and you know, the Mandalorian taking on his armor to pass on to another, and his ship.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, what if Boba dies season finale? He goes out honorably, definitely a better death than he got in Return of the Jedi, and he passes down this like mantle, not just of the Slave One, but of this like weird Mandalorian bounty hunter-ish fatherhood kind of thing, where he kept mentioning Django, and he even quoted him with the Attack of the Clones line. So I was like, what if this is like a whole like passing of the mantle where Boba dies and Din is the new Boba that Jon Favreau always wanted? He's the new cool bounty hunter with the Slave One that is like the coolest ship ever. I don't know. I just thought, like, to me, that thematically and cinematically, that makes a lot of sense. So
absolutely. Nope.
Yeah, we'll
totally
have
does.
to see. Let's go to a quick comment in the chat. I know there was a super chat that I missed. Jared, the Dark Jedi. What's up, Jared? Says, so happy to finally give a damn about Boba Fett. Yes.
Jeez, same. No. I did not give a damn about Boba Fett, but I just the way his story was handled in this episode was very, very good.
Yeah, it definitely made a Boba Fett a character that's a little bit more substance there.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But that definitely is a comment that a lot of people were saying throughout Star Wars Twitter. So yeah, I mean, Boba Fett is a cool, and I just think it's a cool team, right? What do you think of the team aspect of it all? The idea of having this squad as the squad.
Are you kidding me? I was so jazzed at the end of this episode when they were like, we're going to help you get the baby back. So excited.
Yeah. I love the whole Bad Batch of it all, I guess.
Yeah. It is it's a ragtag team of bounty hunters.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, but it's we have the sniper, we have the tech guy, we have the leader, we have the very, very Bad Batch, which is a show that is gonna come out. It got greenlit from Star Wars and Lucasfilm, so they're gonna do that as well. RB3 is reminding me to make sure you guys hit that like button. We got a few of you in the chat right now, so if all of you
just give it a thumbs up,
give us a comment, whatever you guys want to reach out to.
It really helps us in the algorithm. Helps us get the more people watching live, and more people watching live, more people get informed on a great Star Wars talk from Emma Fife and Andres Cabrera. So make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to take one step further and support the show, firstcut.live, that's where you could donate. $10 plus donations will be read out loud at the end of the show by the robot, and we'll read all the donations actually. So if you want to put in $1, actually, if all 49 of y'all watching put in $1 right now, we'd be good. We'd be straight. That'd be awesome. That'd be really awesome. So support us, firstcut.live, or if you can't support us, hit the like button.
Yeah, just share it with your friends, Yeah,
anyone who likes Star Wars. RB3, let's go to full sabak, man.
Full sabak.
So my full sabak, Emma, is a little bit more about the season finale. I know we're not necessarily there yet, but I kind of want to reach there just because I feel like this is where it's leading towards.
Okay.
I'm curious, are we going to go on a high note with the season finale or on a low note? What I mean by that is, will Grogu be rescued by the season finale, or will we leave on a cliffhanger where Grogu doesn't necessarily get reunited with them?
I think that we are going to end on a high note in terms of Grogu is definitely going to be rescued by the end of this season. One of the things that I think they did extremely well in the first season was they certainly left it open for more story. I mean, they knew they were getting a second season at that point, so they were I don't know if they knew exactly at that point, but they were certainly in a position wherein it was very likely they would get a second season. But if the story had ended after the first season, you could just kind of imagine in your head, aside from the big cliffhanger with the Darksaber, there is you can imagine in your head, now the Mandalorian is going to go on a quest to bring Baby Yoda back to the Jedi or to his own kind or whatever it may be. Basically, they concluded that sort of first storyline of, okay, what's going on with this, establishing the bond between the Mandalorian and the baby. But I do think that, and I think that this will end similarly in that there will be some big overarching, oh my God, we know more or less where the story is going in the next season, but we will conclude the storyline, I think very specifically of the conflict with Moff Gideon. That's what I think. I think that this is going to be it for him. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
Yeah, so I totally see that, Emma. I see a finale where, we're taking losses. Boba Fett, just got shot. Everything's going downhill. Oh my God, here's a Jedi. Or, oh my God, here's Ahsoka. Or, oh my God, here's Bo-Katan. Fight. Boom, stabs Moff Gideon with the Darksaber. Take down the Imperial cruiser. Fly off. The explosion blows up. cut to Thrawn
Yeah, exactly right.
wiggling his hands or plotting or turns to the camera and says a cool line, like that kind of send off, similar to what we got last season, where we end on a high note as far as Moff Gideon is dead. This
Totally.
is all over. We got Grogu back. We blowed up the cruiser. Dark Troopers are gone.
Yeah.
But Thrawn is out there and he's plotting blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very possible one. I could also see Boba Fett that dies. Maybe Bo-Katan loses a few of her homies. I forget their names. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks dies. But and then
No, don't kill Sasha Banks.
right when we think we got Grogu back, Moff Gideon shows up and like, I don't know, he stabs Boba Fett or he stabs Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
Fennec Shand can't catch a break. And then he like escapes in his escape pod holding Grogu as Grogu cries, cut to black. Get ready for season 3. Like that's a dark note to leave on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where it's like a cliffhanger and like Moff Gideon is still alive and he still has Grogu and we just lost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think of it this way, they thought for sure they thought that Moff Gideon died at the end of the last season. Again, like
That's
from the Mandalorian's perspective, other than I have to figure out what to do with this kid, the conflict was resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's going to be similar with this season, wherein from the Mandalorian's perspective, the immediate conflict is resolved. But from an audience perspective, we know there's still a lot more going on.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely want to hear the chat sound off if this is going to end
They're
off.
all a bunch of like, they're
no.
like, there's only 2 episodes. There's no way this has a happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, Darth.
You believe
Mr.
what you
Meese
want to believe, chat.
says it's going to be rock bottom. Ray Dominguez says low note and a cliffhanger. Courtney Bassinger says Empire Strikes Back vibe for sure. It says Bradley Pooper says Luke is coming. Isn't he at the end? Or maybe Luke comes at the end, I guess is what he's saying. Yeah, a lot of people on the Luke Skywalker will show up and kick some ass side, which I mean, it would be crazy, but I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad.
I said I didn't want Boba Fett to come back, and yet I really enjoyed that. So I'm willing to be proven wrong about my feelings about not wanting Luke Skywalker to be on this show.
Yeah, Ray Dominguez also says Moff Gideon loses an eye. That's a high
very possible, or an arm,
I could see something
or a
like
foot,
that. Or he just gets like a scar, a Zuko scar. Bradley Burnett says Gideon looks like he's poorly cosplaying Vader. Yeah, he definitely likes the Vader look. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's just coincidence, but Level 2 Trading says, I think Cara Dune dies. Maybe. Or maybe we just don't go back to Navarro.
Yeah, maybe we just don't do that again.
And then, yeah, that's RB3 in the back.
Again, upgrade with Fennec Shand as the girl companion.
Yeah, Bradley Burnett also mentions if he loses an arm, maybe he gets a robotic replacement. That's very funny. Yeah, I mean, definitely a split as far as ending on a high note or on a low note. I think that's a very significant thing, though, Emma. I really do, because I talked about this with to Alex on Star Wars Explained, and I said I think it's a very purposeful thing. As much as people want to see dark, like let's just go dark. I think we forget the Baby Yoda of it all and the Grogu of it all.
Okay, but I just want to point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
In chat, Captain Murphy, this is the greatest comment I've ever read. My 8-year-old son says Gideon's going to be holding Grogu while watching The Mandalorian and his posse fight the Dark Troopers. And I just actually need that to happen. That is great direction. He's just like, if they're on like, say, an Imperial Star Destroyer or like so Gideon is on one of those like upper decks with like a glass window. This is very Rise of the Resistance also at Galaxy's Edge. And he's just like there with like the baby, but like Dr. Evil style, but it's Baby Yoda.
I see it. I see it darker.
This shootout.
I see it way darker, Emma. I see it like he's holding Grogu and he's holding a dark saber to Grogu.
And
he's like, "Don't come closer."
No, I was making it a comedy.
I was making it like super dark. I see. My thing is this. This is what I told Alex because we talked about this. Like, I think there is like everyone wants to have the Empire Strikes Back. Everyone wants to have the crazy dark cliffhanger, but I think people forget like the Baby Yoda of it all, which a lot of people who watch these shows don't necessarily keep up with all of Star Wars, and a lot of people who watch these shows, frankly, like this comment said. Who said that again? I'm sorry.
Captain Murphy.
Captain Murphy. So a lot of people like Captain Murphy have their kids watching this show.
Yeah.
And I think people are forgetting that kids watch this show. So I'm like, if I'm a Star Wars creator and if I'm a Star Wars guy, do I want to like single-handedly ruin Christmas?
Yeah. It's right before Christmas. Okay. Star Wars is not going to ruin Christmas for us.
But if like Grogu is like seen in a ship flying away with a darksaber to his throat as he's crying, that's gonna ruin Christmas.
Yeah.
For a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Like I really do feel like it's maybe a little too dark if we leave on a dark note. So I feel like we're gonna have what you said, Emma, which is like a mix of like we won the day, but the battle continues. You know, that kind of ideology and that kind of season finale. But again, we will see. Let's quickly go to the POC spotlight before we peace out of here. RB3, I know I always send you these images so late. So I have no idea if you have it. If not, I can just vamp.
I got it.
So Emma, I thought because we were raving about Ming-Na Wen, I thought, why not make her the POC spotlight?
Why freaking not?
Talk to me a little bit about just a little bit we've gotten for Fennec Shand and Ming-Na Wen in general.
Y'all, number one, I just love Ming-Na Wen. I feel like my intro to her was probably as the voice of Mulan. And then this is not really a spoiler. She's tweeted about it. But you should, you should still watch the movie. The moment that she actually shows up in Mulan, the live action version, I sobbed. I just love her. I think that she is so wonderful. She's just such a cool, like, down to earth kind of woman. And she's always been like such an advocate for other women of color in her field and just like out there doing really good work and just kind of like quietly putting her nose to the grindstone and doing the thing. Like that's the thing is I think that people don't think about the fact that like she's just had a super duper like consistent career. And she's just such a great natural fit for Star Wars, like just incorporating this woman who has been such a beacon of positivity for the like geek community at large, getting to be in this huge franchise where she certainly belongs and is this character who has a lot of agency and isn't just a caricature of a stern, like sharpshooting bounty hunter woman. Like she is very grateful to Boba Fett for what he did, and she's totally on board. I will be very upset if what a lot of people in chat, not a lot of people, but some people in chat were saying, oh, she's totally going to betray them and go with Gideon and blah, blah, blah. And I really don't think she will. I think that would be a disservice to the character, because I think what's making this character interesting is the fact that she does have a compassionate side to her, because like Boba Fett, she was a bounty hunter who was left for dead. In Boba Fett's case, he was left for dead by the Empire, which is why he's got some real beef with them now. And in her case, she was left for dead by the worst actor to ever appear in Star Wars. I said it. He was so bad.
Yeah, he wasn't.
It was so bad.
It wasn't there. It just
Bobby
wasn't.
Cannavale.
Mando, hey Mando.
Yeah, it was not great. Not great.
Wasn't,
so I'm really glad she got to come back from that. But again, that sort of like parallel storyline of her and Boba Fett, and like having her be somebody that has a different like layer of depth to her is great.
Yeah, obviously I can go on and on about Ming-Na Wen, especially as Agent May, one of my favorite characters in all of TV. She carries so many episodes. She carries so many seasons. Emotionally carries them, which I think is a very significant thing, considering her character is so stoic and is so emotionless. To be able to portray so much emotion inside a character that's supposed to be very centered and very emotionless and very, like martial artist expert killer kind of aspect of Agent May, but she brings so much grace, so much emotionality, so much heart to her character.
Yeah.
And in Fennec Shand, I really see so much potential.
Yeah.
One main reason, not the main reason, but one of the reasons is I love like the whole, like, we got the sharpshooter guy. Like I'm a fan of, this, Emma, Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex.
Totally.
Saito. Saito, the guy with the eye patch.
The
who's
eye
like
patch.
the expert sniper.
The like cyber eye patch.
Yeah, the guy's awesome. He's one of the best characters too. When we get his backstory in Standalone Complex, we find out where he comes from and what his emotional baggage is and what he thinks about the Major and why he's doing what he's doing. He's one of the best characters in the show, and it's always like that little like clutch thing that you have. I'm also going to throw a basketball reference at you, but when you have a 3-and-D guy, someone who you can pass the ball to, and they're always going to shoot that 3-pointer. That's like a sharpshooter inside this show where it's like, Shinnick Fan has my back, or like, Saito has my back.
Yeah.
We can make it out of here because I know someone is watching over me, up there in the sniper position or something. I think that's just a cool thing.
Totally. And, I think also one of the things that was super interesting about this character and the way that she was reintroduced with Boba Fett in this episode is very much that idea of her immediately having the gun trained on the baby because she's willing to do whatever she needs to do to help out the person who didn't abandon her.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that too. And
I get it. I get it. It's super shitty that she's just willing to kill this innocent kid, but at the same time, that's part of what makes her interesting.
See, when that happened, I immediately was like, oh, she could die.
Yeah, no, shades of gray, baby. Shades of gray. And she plays Shades of Gray really, really well.
Yeah, I think it works. But Bradley Pooper in the comment section says she's the Klay Thompson of the show. Yeah, I mean, Klay Thompson's, he's an all-around player. He can finish at the rim too. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA. He's definitely all NBA. Definitely a snub there. So I would say she's more like I don't know. She's like when Danny Green was good. Right, RB3?
That's a good comparison. So not when he missed that epic 3-point miss in
that's the epic. Finals. It's going to go down in history.
By the way, we have 42 likes. Can we get to 50 likes before the end of the show? 8 more likes. Can we do it?
JJ Redick. There we go. Either way, RB3, any final thoughts or comments? Obviously, we're not going to do, sorry guys, squad up this week again.
Sorry, I have a really early tomorrow.
No worries, and I've been pretty busy too, guys. So I've been kind of jumping in and out of my spot.
Wait, I liked the video, so now we're at 44. It looks.
We're at 44. Can we get 6 more people? Can we get 6 more? We have nothing else. We have no donations on Streamlabs, unfortunately.
Got you.
But people want to contribute, even if they're watching on the replay. Again, the link is still good. We'll replay the message next week. Firstcut.live. That's the way you can contribute 49? To the show. Yeah, 49. We're almost there.
One
more like.
Hey, 51.
There you go. We did it.
Stop the count. No, I'm kidding.
Keep those likes coming.
Drops his mic.
Yeah. Woo.
RB3, man, we're going to start with you just because we really do appreciate you, man. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Director RB3.
Emma.
I'm at Emma Fife all over the internet, wherever Emma Fifes are sold. Also, tomorrow on The Download on Ben, which is the show that I host from 4:00 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. Pacific time every day, wherever you like to watch Ben. There are many options of places to do so. We do have Jose Perez III, who is the director of the most recent Star Wars VR experience, which is Tales from Galaxy's Edge. From ILMX Labs. He is going to be on the show tomorrow talking about that. So it'll be fun.
That's amazing. I've been hearing great things about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, guys, please go check that out because I think WatchFan is doing some really cool things. And Emma's there, so that's even better reason to watch it. Obviously, guys, I'm at Squad Leader Ace. Make sure you subscribe to First Cut if you haven't done so already. That's the best way you can show love. Subscribe. Also, follow us at First Cut TMO on social media. Either way, guys, for the Fresh Cut crew and for the Sabak the Block crew, we're peacing out. Peace.